Having a strong and toned booty is something that everyone wants, and having a strong gluteus medius will help you achieve that. In this video where we'll be discussing everything you need to know about the gluteus medius. So, before we move further, let's understand first what is glutes medius and its anatomy. What is the gluteus medius? The gluteus medius muscle is primarily responsible for internal and external rotation of the hip, abduction of the hip, and stabilization of the hip and pelvis while performing the weight-bearing movement. The gluteus medius is located on the outside surface of the ilium, the upper part of the hip bone, and inserts into the greater trochanter side of the femur. During walking and running, the gluteus medius muscle contracts to stabilize the pelvis, which helps prevent asymmetry on the opposite side of the hip. This stability is essential for single leg movements and stride, and plays a role in preventing the knees from knocking in towards the body's midline. The anatomy of the gluteus medius. The glutes are actually composed of three different muscles: gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, gluteus minimus. In this video, we will cover only the gluteus medius. The gluteus medius is a large, thick, radiating muscle located on the outside of the buttocks upper side. When viewed from the side, it resembles the shape of a fan. The upper portion is wide and originates on the ilium, the largest part of the hip bone. The muscle then moves down the hip and can be divided into three different portions. The posterior portion, the side towards the back, has fibers that are directed forwards and downwards. The middle portion has fibers that are directed downwards only. The anterior portion, the side towards the front, has fibers that are directed backward and downwards. The muscle continues to travel down and narrows until all of the fibers ultimately converge into its tendon, which is then inserted into the greater trochanter of the femur, the big knob on the end of the thigh bone. 2/3 of the gluteus medius is entirely covered by the gluteus maximus. The only superficial part of the muscle is the anterosuperior, forward upper, portion. Due to its location, the gluteus medius is primarily responsible for controlling hip movement and providing stability. Top 5 best gluteus medius exercises for strength and tone. Lying side abduction. Even if you don't have a machine or even a gym, you can train your gluteus medius using only body weight. You can do this at home or anywhere you find yourself exercising with simple abduction movements of your legs while lying on your side. Side plank leg abduction. We can spice up the leg abduction by performing a side plank simultaneously. Instead of lying on the floor, we support our body in a straight line on one hand or forearm below us. The added benefit here is your body's need to keep your hips from dipping to the side, incorporating your gluteus medius to hold your hips in line with your feet and perform the abduction of your top leg. Banded knee barbell hip thrust. The barbell hip thrust is the best exercise to increase the gluteal muscle's strength and size as a whole. It is a hip extension movement that is primarily done by the gluteus maximus. By adding a fabric resistance band around the knees, we can further increase the activation of the gluteus medius by forcing them to perform hip horizontal abduction to keep the legs out. Further, it is a movement in that we can use significantly higher loads. This exercise looks very similar to combining a barbell hip thrust with a clamshell exercise, a great standalone exercise to train the gluteus medius. Front plank with hip extension. A front plank with hip extension also takes advantage of the gluteus medius's role in controlling hip stability. This glute exercise begins in the plank position. You then lift one leg up, with the knee bent, as high as you can go, which will cause an extension of the hip, pulling the leg backward. The front plank with hip extension is the best exercise when looking at total activation in both the gluteus medius and gluteus maximus. You can train both of these muscles simultaneously to such a high degree. Single leg deadlift. The single leg deadlift is a hip hinge movement that involves more of a swinging motion of the body forward and involves less of a drop in the hips. While the single leg deadlift may not be the go-to movement for the gluteus medius, don't ignore it. One advantage it has over many of the other gluteus medius exercises is that it is significantly easier to add a higher load. If you do like this video, please subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.